Good afternoon, everybody. I am so excited to be back with you. Today, we're going to meet for our first episode a very special lady. She is a social worker, and today we're going to talk about mental health. So, without further ado, I am going to ask her to join me on the live, and um, and I hope everybody gonna have a great time this evening.
Hey,
Hey, how are
good.
you?
How are you?
I'm great. How have you been since the last time we met?
Good, good. Just, busy trying to juggle mom life and work. I'm back at work now. Maternity leave is over. Oh,
Oh my God, I can only imagine.
yes, yes.
How long were you able to stay home?
6 months.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So
This is amazing.
I had a really good time and I was like ready to go back, but then also not ready. And then it's like, I'm back and it's been like 3 months and I'm just like, oh my gosh, wow.
I will not want to go back either after all this time.
Exactly.
So, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Like I was mentioning earlier, you are a licensed medical social worker, and yeah, I'll let you talk a little bit more about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So I'm a licensed social worker, as Joanne mentioned, and I work in the community and I basically see folks that are released from the hospital in need of all kinds of support, dealing with different kinds of illnesses, some chronic, debilitating. Sometimes we cover end of life things if necessary. A lot of mental health stuff comes up because of the medical problems that they're going through as well. So it's a lot that I it's a lot that I do with my patients, but also not just their patient, not my patients, but also their families. So on top of that, you're very, very involved in a lot of different things within their life. Unfortunately, for a very short time span, because we are regulated by insurance. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that's basically the gist of it.
Okay. And how did you decide that's what you wanted to do?
So I originally my plan when I went to school was I wanted to be a psychologist, but then I had a wake up call, which was that there was a lot of school involved for psychologists. And I was like, I gotta like go through all this school. I might as well be a doctor, like a medical doctor versus like
Mhm.
a doctor that does therapy. So I was like, but with social work, I felt like there'd be more opportunities, so to speak. Like I could kind of do a lot of different things with that. And so I ended up deciding, okay, I did my undergrad for 4 years and then I immediately went to do my master's program, which was 2 years
Mhm.
social worker. And also what I liked about the program that I was in, they had a specialization in medical social work, which is not very
Okay.
common that you see in different schools and universities. There's usually more of a like a clinical focus, maybe like social justice focus, not so much the medical space. And I felt like there was a lot more diversity in that. And I always knew that I wanted to be in the medical fields without being a doctor or a nurse.
So, so there's a difference between licensed social worker and licensed medical social
Oh
worker?
no, no, no. There is no difference. No, no, no.
Oh,
License. I'm not a licensed medical social worker. I'm a licensed social worker.
all right. And is there like anybody who inspire you to make that decision?
Um, Let me see. As far as Anyone that inspired me, I I wouldn't say like there was a specific person, but I think like just common themes in my life. Because I knew like I didn't want to work with kids. I love kids, but I didn't want to work in kids with kids. I got to do my internship in different things. Like I did some clinical work. I worked at group home for boys. I worked at a homeless shelter. I
Mhm.
worked with substance abuse population, substance misuse population, and I knew I didn't want to do any of those things, but more of a medical focus. I have a lot of friends who are nurses, and I've always been around. Well, I guess I should go back because my first job was working in a nursing home when I was 18 years old. So I was a
Mhm.
feeder. That's how I started. I would feed patients that didn't have anyone to feed them. And I became very friendly with the social worker there because I was going to school. And I guess I started like kind of, talking to her and learning more about the field. And I was like, oh, so I would say probably that like those combination of things really inspired me.
So that's great. Um, I guess, okay, my next question now is, okay, so we know in, our community, the Black community, there's a lot of taboo regarding mental health, um, you know, um, all the different diagnoses possible. So have you encountered any difficulty when you started with that line of work? And now that you're in it, how is it? What observation have you made regarding this?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of taboo with regard to mental health, especially in the Black communities, in different communities, of course, but particularly in the Black community, there's more of this focus of, you have to be the strong one, you have to, pray on it, lean on your faith, or we don't talk about those things, and there's just so many different things that you've kind of been taught growing up that's just not true, and it's not normal. Maybe 40, 50, 60, 70 years ago it was norm, but now in 2022 and prior to that, I think there was this big what do you call it, like this big, I don't want to say explosion, but like this big focus on talking about mental health. And I do think the pandemic somewhat highlighted some of those issues. But even before that, like I would follow people on social media, like psychiatrists, psychologists,
Mhm.
clinical social workers, who really use their voice to talk about the importance of mental health and kind of getting yourself out of this mindset of all the above of you got to be strong, the faith and all that, and just that really normalizing those stigmas that exist in our communities.
That's amazing. Um, I also know that you started your own
Mm-hmm.
business, and I wanted to ask you to talk to us more about it and what also pushed you to start it.
Sure. Yeah, so I created Misguided Notions, which is just a platform that is online where I just basically give just like how to's of a variety of things, but with a focus on healthcare. A lot of the common themes that come up in healthcare and a lot of like misconceptions, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different things that people go through in life, right? Especially when they're dealing with some sort of illness, like you're faced with a new diagnosis, and all of a sudden you're thrown into this world of healthcare that is confusing, it's overwhelming, it makes no sense. There's all these things, and like you talk to one person and another person and another person, you can talk to all these different people but still get different answers. So then I figured, why not create a space where we could normalize talking about some of these things and just have an area where people can get guidance and support about some of these issues that come up.
And have you encountered any obstacle in the beginning of it, any setback? And if yes, what kept motivating you to keep going?
I think the setback for me, and I feel like we all go through this, where it's like, oh my gosh, is this really resonating with people? Like, are people really listening? Are people really hearing it? Are people really getting it? But then more and more, like, I find that I've had a lot of conversations with people offline who have said,
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that you wrote about this. I really related to that, or I went through this particular situation and I felt like you explaining this kind of made sense, or something like, I wish I had met you before because I was going through all this stuff. Because another thing that does happen for a lot of people is that when they're faced with something like an illness, there tends to be this idea that I feel, to me, it seems like almost you want to keep it a secret, but why?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's like, no matter what, like, I feel like, and I know, Joan, we've spoken about this, like, where it's like, you don't have to keep things a secret. Like, if you're going through something, tell somebody. There's someone to listen. There's support. There, I know, like, you're very big on, like, here's the number that you can call if you need help. Like, and that's really, really what I think people need to see, that there's that kind of support that is available to them. And then that way they won't feel so isolated and alone.
And also hearing other people's story kind of like gives you a little bit of, self-confidence, like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only person going through this.
That
So I actually can talk about it.
exactly. And even like, so today I was talking to my friend Anita, and we host together a podcast called Care Talkers, and we were talking about how, like, we've had so many conversations with people who have been like, oh, we listened to the podcast, and like, they'll say, or like, we'll talk about something related to the podcast, like on social media, and then someone will say, oh wow, I'm going through this too, or like, so all of a sudden you hear like all these different stories, and people are really struggling with a lot of the same issues, and you would have had no
Mhm.
idea, because it's not normal, I guess, normal to talk
Yeah,
about these at like a dinner party. But why not?
I know, right? And accepting the fact, like, oh my gosh, I'm going through this also can take so much like a pressure on you for some reason.
Exactly.
Mhm. Okay, so my next question is, what would you say is your biggest accomplishment so to date?
Um, oh, okay. So
Mhm.
for me, I think, because I hate public speaking, like, I hate it. It's makes me so nervous. I get like knots in my stomach, and to be able to talk to you and like your audience on this platform is like huge for me. And honestly, it started with you because I was part of I think the second annual fair,
Oh my gosh.
people, and I remember sweating profusely because I was so nervous, and I think it was like 15 minutes, and like I had to talk about, like, whatever it was I was talking about, and I was like so nervous, but I did it, and it ripped the band-aid.
Wow.
Since then I've just been able to like have all these different like speaking engagements, panels I've been on, and like IG lives like this, and I love it, and it's so fun, and I think it's great. And so for me, that's a big achievement.
Oh my God. You're making me so emotional right now.
Aw, Joanne.
Thank you so much for sharing this. You
True.
will not know. But sometimes, like, I mean, I I've been called being pushy, right? Push my but obviously it's not with a bad intention. I just like helping and be involved in everything. But I never had an official credit, so it really means a lot to me. So thank you.
True. I appreciate you so much, because
Oh my gosh, thank you. It's so encouraging.
yes, keep it up.
Thank you so much. So what would you say is your biggest compliment that you ever received?
I'll say, like, in working with my clients, because a lot of times, you know, they're going through all this struggles, 'cause, imagine being told that something like, you have cancer, and not knowing where to turn, or not knowing, like, okay, what's next. And I think just being able to formulate some sort of a plan, like, okay, let's prioritize what's most important to you right now, and let's go down the list. And we literally like we'll have like a check off and like go through A, B, C, D, and go through that and kind of like help to like get to have some sort of guidance or like an idea to say, okay, this is what I need to do first. This is what I need to do next. And I think hearing that that is helpful does mean a lot to me, because then I feel like, okay, then I've been able to meet my purpose for them. Like I've been able to help them in a way that kind of takes away the overwhelm, because I feel like, you imagine you're being faced with something, as serious as that, and not knowing what to do first, because there's so many things you probably want to do first, but just helping guide that conversation can really, really alleviate a lot of stress and pressure.
Amen to that. What is something that you realize that people tend to misunderstand about you?
What do people misunderstand about me? I'm not sure. I don't know that I can't think of anything. I really can't.
You've never been misunderstood. I keep thinking about the song, Please Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood.
I guess like I can be very passionate. Like I'm a very passionate person about something, and sometimes maybe, and that's what it is. Like I'm a big person who believes in advocating for yourself and being empowered. I'm huge on empowerment, and maybe sometimes that can come off as a little bit aggressive, and
Okay.
it doesn't translate well for people because maybe they're not ready to hear that. But I'm just like, I tend to be a very realist person, and sometimes I have been told like maybe scale that back a bit. So I would say that that's probably a misconception about me, and it's more of a, it's not that I'm trying to tell you what to do, it's just that I'm really concerned for your well-being, and I feel like you should it's so important that you like make this decision now or do this now. That's what I would say.
I can totally relate. Okay, so if you could turn and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell her?
Definitely don't sign up for that credit card at college, because wow, thousands and thousands of dollars later, which listen, since I've cleared debt, thankfully, but you didn't need a free t-shirt to get a credit card. You really didn't need
Oh my God.
it. Can you relate?
We have to share that story later.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to anybody who's currently listening to you and will either think about going into the social work field or started their own businesses? What would you tell them?
For anyone starting I would say for anyone that's interested in social work, there's this misconception that we don't make money. But I 100% do not agree. I feel like there's just so many ways that you can use your skills to really make money. And I don't feel that's something that's talked about. Even in our schooling, it's not really talked about because there's so many things that you can do as a social worker. You could be a coach. You could get into therapy. You could decide to be a therapist. You could be a professor. You could be an educator. The list goes on and on and on. And with that, you can really do well for yourself. And I feel like don't believe the hype that you can't make money. You could definitely get into a lot of debt because of school, because of loans and all that stuff. But which is why we say don't get the free shirt, don't sign up for the card. It's not worth it. But at the end of the day, I would say definitely for me in social work, don't feel that it's not that there's no possibility of making money, because there really is.
Okay, thank you. Great advice. And my most personal question, how do you manage being a mom working, starting a business, being a wife. Because I know sometimes as a woman, we feel like we need to excel at everything. And if we don't, we blame ourselves. Maybe people will tell you doing too much, slow down. So how you manage all of this and kind of like not feeling down and dealing with the stress and the anxiety.
So I think for me, given that I've just started work just a few months ago, as we were talking before, it has been really hard for me to juggle it all in the sense of more for me. And I never had this. Well, maybe I did. I'm always late. I'm that one who's always late on their notes, and I never have my stuff done in time. Like my supervisor's always like, Sandrine, I need you to get your stuff done. That was always the case for me. But now it's like when I come home, I have to be mom, I have to be wife, I have to make dinner. I have to do all these things, but I also am a big believer in asking for help, no matter what, asking for help, because we cannot think of it like you coming home and you have all these bags. Now, you only have 2 arms. Do you have to carry 10 bags? No, you don't. You can ask for help, I hope, if whoever that is. And I know maybe not everyone is in that has that capability to ask for help, but I personally am. And I find like any way that I can, I will ask for help. Like even just for me to do this live, because I had a whole bunch of other calls earlier today. And that unfortunately, I felt like, oh my gosh, like the little voice in my head was like, oh my God, your son, my son, he needs me. But he didn't need me. He's fine. He's totally fine. And then my friend who's visiting was like, oh, I'm here. Do you want me to just take him for a little bit? And I'm like, yes, please. And I feel like many of us would be like, many other women would be like, no, that's okay. That's okay. I got it. But I don't got it. Like I wouldn't be able to be here with you and having this conversation if I had him here. Like I could, but then it would take away from it. You know what I'm saying? Like it was like, why not accept that help? So I welcome the help. I say ask for help. Any
You want him, you can have him. Take him.
Exactly. And I think normalize too as moms. Like we don't normalize that, and I feel like it's important.
Because part of you feel like if you don't do it all, it's like you're failing it all.
Yeah.
For some reason, I don't know why. So that's great advice. Thank you so much. Now, where can anybody who's currently listening, where can they reach you after this live? If they have any question, any comment, or if they even looking into getting help mentally. So where can they reach out to you?
Sure. So you can follow me on Instagram, Misguided Notions. That's MISSGUIDEDNOTIONS. I know that was really fast. Instagram. Also, my podcast is with my friend Anita is Care Talkers. We're also on Instagram, and we're also, if you listen to podcasts, we're on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, and all major podcast listening platforms, and also my website, which is misguidednotes.com.
All right. So at this time, I don't know if anybody will have any question. They can put in the chat. I'm going to check right now. Okay. If you don't have any question, well, Sandrine, I'll tell you, thank you for joining us this afternoon. It was such a pleasure, as usual, to talk to you. Thank you for letting us have a sight into your world. And thank you to everybody who joined this afternoon. Remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel to watch this live again. And we'll meet next Sunday. So I hope everybody has a great week and stay safe.
Thank you, Joanne. It was so fun. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Talk to you. Bye.